Hi, everybody. Good morning. I feel old now after the Michael early 30s, Apostolos middle 20s. I'm 40. Anyway, thank you very much for this. I'm going to speak about choreographies and about dynamic ecosystems because it's a magic thing happening out there. And it's all about how not only we experience the world, but how we enhance this experience. And this because in our days, what we really generate is data. More and more data comes from everywhere. So we have more and more lakes with structured or unstructured data where either we find information or noise. And it's important because this kind of generation of data changes the whole experience of the world, changes the way we create value, and changes our expectations. Because it's very interesting to see that everything becomes different. Everything is different in our days. The way we work, the way we understand the world, the way we start collaborating with others, how the whole world is with no borders, how we start working with teams across the universe, but at the same time, how we as humans, we change. Because we are not only participants in an ecosystem or in a society, but we are users of the ecosystem. And this is, frankly, the most amazing thing because of the pace that we experience the world. We start to become thirsty for more value. We want things to happen now. We want less bureaucracy while we need more efficiency. We need to become able not only to try new things without the regulation hassle, but at the same time to feel safe that what we do, there will be someone out there either to evaluate it properly or to see if it's proper for the society or not. And this, because we start talking about more and more about technology. We just heard that technology is the #1 pivotal thing that drives societies forward. But we come to say that technology is everything, but not the everything. Technology is an enabler. We have to start thinking about how humans can play a significant role in that kind of exchange of information. And we have to make sure that the most important element is how we define the choreography between all the major stakeholders, how we make sure that we have the right information flow, and how we make sure that it's not only about using technology, it's about designing the services in a completely new way. It's about how we create relevant services, and it's all about how we make sure that what we create has the human in the center. So far, everything was made with a perspective that we design something in a city, in an ecosystem, in a work environment, and this something has to find the right audience to be used. So we had a new system or we had a new service, and we had to train people to use this service. We had to train or to persuade these people to start adopting the service. In our days, everything has to go the other way around, which is all about how we make sure that we have listened, we have mapped, and we have charted their expectations. Because when this happens, we start achieving something very, very critical, which is relevancy. The more relevant the service or an infrastructure is to an actual need, the more chances we have this service to succeed. The more chances we have this service to be adopted, and the more chances we have this service actually to change the way we experience how an ecosystem works. And relevancy is not only about how people use it, but it's all about how the whole ecosystem starts operating in a completely different way when we have the right amount of information. Because data, as we said, is the easiest thing to start working with. But how we work with them is where the magic begins. It's all about the right tools, the right algorithms, the right people, and the right talent we put in place to make sure that the ecosystem not only performs well, but is a dynamic and not a static one. So the question we have is how we move from a large, complex, heavy, slow ecosystem to something agile, something easy to listen to actual people's needs, something to foster people's ability to create value. And how we make that in a way that we protect innovation while we are not over-regulate. How we make that in a way that the whole thing works towards a direction to combine forces instead of working against each other. How we make sure that we don't create more silos or more layers of authority or of approval, while we create an open space for everybody to communicate their ideas. And this is important because in our days there is a cliché. The cliché is all about we need to buy more technology, we have to invest in more technology, we have to spend more in technology. Recently I was in a conversation with a very, very big city regarding how they can get in a smart city territory. And their first response was, I need an app for the smart parking, I need an app for the billing, and just I need an app to make sure that I understand where my people can have the right service. And they were missing the holistic approach. They were missing the approach that nothing has just one case per time. They were missing that our world is governed by the Heisenberg principle. They were missing that each situation can have a variable situations. And how we can address them is by being ready for each possible scenario. And how we design everything can impact or influence all the elements of the ecosystem. So the question is how we move from something traditional to something very dynamic. How we can start applying environmental economics. How we take under consideration not only the markets, but also the society. And at the same time, while we respect the resources of the environment or our society, our people, our assets, we make sure that all the elements of the ecosystem perform very, very well. And this is because when it comes to people, it's all about being transparent. More transparency means that people have the motivation to perform better. More transparent means that we have more elements to apply the technology we have just acquired. More transparent means that we have all the tools, not only to give to people the ability to create value, but also to understand what really is needed so we can accelerate the whole ecosystem forward. And we said that we gather more and more data. We said that we have more and more data. But there is a critical element that we forget, and this critical element is what really changes the way we experience the world. And the question is, what has changed our world that much the last 100 years? Because always we've had technology, we always had ability to generate value, but in our days, things go fast. We have access to technology that we have never thought that we're going to have. And we have access to processing power that it was like a dream 5 or 8 years ago. And nowadays, everything is all about connections. Connections is what really makes the change. Connections, the way we connect things, is what really drives change, what really drives our understanding of the world faster forward. Because the interesting part is that we realize that we connect everything on the internet so fast that down the line, after less than 100 years, the amount of connected devices capable of generating data and interacting with each other will be more than the grains of the sand of this planet. And this is something fascinating because suddenly, all these connected devices not only generate data, but they give us the ability to map and chart the world in real time even deeper. So the question is, while we generate data, what to do with them? The question is, while we start talking about how we can transform our society, what we need to do with them, how we can go beyond the expected, how we can start thinking outside of the box, how we can use traditional elements of the ecosystem in a very untraditional and unconventional role. 2 years ago, we worked with Nissan and Foster partners to design the role of the car in a smart city, but at the same time, how a gas station might look in a smart city. And this was the outcome.
At Nissan, we believe the future is electric. So what will the fuel station of the future look like? We think it could be this. Charged by the sun, wind, and the oceans, cars can empower people to store and then distribute renewable energy. So what can we do to to really shift the balance from fossil fuels to renewables. Through our battery and intelligent drive technologies, we may have some answers. With Nissan's wireless charging and universal connectivity, our vehicles could autonomously charge themselves and then repark so another vehicle on the street could use the same bay, all while you sleep. And come the morning, your house and the grid could draw energy straight from your car, powering your home as you start the day. This is not just any street, this is a smart street. The cars, houses, roads and grid are all in sync, connected. Recycled lead batteries can be turned into smart home storage so that no clean energy goes to waste. And it doesn't stop there. With zero-emission technology, when you pull up at your workplace, you could drive straight into the office. An automated parking system would whisk your car away to be recharged, or the battery could even be used to power your office. The whole city could be connected. What if clean energy was so abundant that it became a free commodity to be shared amongst the city and its people? Our cities have the power to be transformed. Places once occupied by car parks and fuel stations could be replaced by green spaces, building a cleaner, kinder urban environment for our children and our children's children. At Nissan, we want to unlock the true potential hidden in our cities, and we believe that zero-emission and piloted drive technologies could be the key. What if the fuel station of the future wasn't a fuel station at all? We believe the fuel station of the future is your home, your street, your city, your car.
And if this sounds and feels quite far in the future, hyperconnectivity allows us not to just connect the cars with our needs, but to connect the way we experience the city in a completely different way. So by connecting trees, we start understanding how we can change the way to work. You know, in major big cities like in London or in Paris, people actually walk to their work. And what they try to do is to find the best, less noisy way. And in order to do that, they not only connect the trees to the internet, but also connect people routes across the city. So to make sure that you have a high-personalized experience while you walk towards the work. Recently, an app has been launched relevant to this.
This is Charlie. He lives in the city, doesn't need a car, and likes to walk to get around. Charlie likes to walk because it's a great way of getting exercise. It's good for the planet, and it saves him money. But the route he takes to work is pretty stressful, noisy, and full of traffic. That's because Charlie's smartphone only shows him the fastest walking routes. Charlie wouldn't mind taking a slightly longer walk if it meant less traffic and more trees, because trees make Charlie happy. But it's not just Charlie. In fact, studies have shown that walking through tree-filled streets and parks can reduce feelings of stress and increase happiness. So that's why Charlie started using the Walkonomics app. Walkonomics is a navigation app that finds the most beautiful routes rather than just the fastest. This means that Charlie can find a happier route to work with plenty of trees and parks. And the route only takes a couple of minutes longer to walk, meaning that Charlie feels happier and more relaxed for the rest of the day. Walkonomics is already available in several cities, and more are on the way.
So the interesting part, I don't know how applicable this can be in a typical Greek city, but the most important is that we shift the gravitas center from something about being practical to something about being more driven on well-beingness and more being about how we can perform better within an ecosystem. And we see that everything gets a holistic approach when we start to design value creation elements within a dynamic ecosystem. Because in our days, nothing is static. So we have to understand that we need people to start designing things using technology, having in mind that they don't address just a specific challenge or a need, but an opportunity across the city. an opportunity that is capable of delivering value not just to a specific audience, but to the whole city by improving specific elements of the dynamic ecosystem we like to design. Because, and that's the most important element, we live in eras where we gather data. We live in eras where we have technology, and at the same time we have the talent and the knowledge to use them in a very, very different way. So the choreography, or the way we use the music and the technology, is all about combining different forces towards the same direction. It's all about understanding the need and not creating challenges or problems. It's all about understanding the moving elements of a society. It's all about not only gathering data, it's about understanding that the data we have in place, we have to use them in a very, very different way. And the challenge we have here is that we need the help of engines. AI engines are here to help us. They have emotions. They can be taught by us to deliver value. They can be taught by us to fight cancer. They can be taught by us to optimize the way we travel, the way we experience the world. And at that point, engines like IBM Watson is coming in the field, which is all about how we experience the world in a completely different way. So wrapping up my speech, I would like to share with you that the future is not about designing something static, but co-living with engines, with emotions, and create value for everybody, not leaving someone behind. Thank you very much.